Hello. It is November 20th, 2023. It's
Mhm.
7:06 p.m. and you're watching episode 6 of the Dovecote. This week I have my guest Fede. Say hi.
Hey.
And this week we're going to be talking about a mix of topics. I was talking to Fede before the show. I think this is the most normal TTRPG news that that we've had in a while. There was like a slump for a bit, and then it's kind of become regular again. Um, but yeah, Fede, tell folks a bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm an Argentinian RPG designer. Um, I don't know. I'm 31 years old. I've been living outside of Argentina for the last about 8 years, 8 years, 9 years, more or less. Uh, 2015, I moved to London, and I was there for 5 years working in sort of like corporate RPGs mostly. Um, Modifius and that sort of shit, and doing my own sort of like company for my game, etc. And eventually I left that, and I'm currently in Japan, and I have been in Japan for about 3 years now,
Cool.
mostly working on my games. Fortunately, yeah.
Yeah. Folks might know. Uh, hang on, I'm trying to. Uh, obviously Zephyr's your current thing, right?
Yeah,
Um,
Zephyr's my current thing.
which folks might know you for. Um, and then
Neighbor,
Nibiru
yeah.
as well. Um, yeah, I'm gonna put those in the chat. Definitely check these games out. For TTRPG, here we go. Um, cool. Yeah. So, I guess I guess, I mean, I kind of already, uh, went into this, but I guess to start, because Zephyr is kind of your current project. Tell us a bit about Zephyr.
Sure. So Zephyr is basically an anarchist game of fleeting identities. That's the tagline. So the idea is that uh, it's a game basically that draws a parallel between identity and feelings, as well as sort of like anarchist themes of like living outside of state jurisdictions, stuff like that. It's a fantasy game. It's set in a colossal living continent called the Void. This continent, there's a whole metaphysics to it where feelings kind of like behave like substances. So, like with substance dynamics, like feelings they can take. So, like solid shape, liquid shape. So, you can have mountains made of like pure rage, rivers made of sorrow, etc. And it's not limited to the landscape. Like living entities also are made of this, and you control one of them. You're basically one of the windfolk, and you basically hail from like these small communities in the periphery of this living walking continent, and you basically venture out into the vast world beyond to fulfill obligations for your loved ones and your communities. That's sort of like the point of the game. Um, the metaphysics and all of this stuff about like being made of feelings, like it kind of sounds a bit like a high concept, but it's pretty easy to get into because you don't really use dice. You're using tokens of the colors of the Zephyr, and you're combining them like as you play. So it's very tactile the way you engage with the sort of like premise of the setting. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. Something that I mean, I think this is probably the most I mean, not I okay. Sorry, my brain is like really. I guess for context for folks who are watching, this is uh this is like post COVID and flu vaccine eclipse. So you're getting me at like maybe 60-70% right now. Um, but however, I really like Zephyr's art style. Um, I I pretty much anytime I see any sort of Zephyr art, I am like overwhelmed by just like how interesting and like suffused with the text it is. Like whenever I see like pages that you post, I'm really impressed by that. Um,
Hmm.
and I also really like the sort of physical, like kind of rough tokens that kind of fit the style. It's a very cohesive game, which I think is really cool. Could you talk a bit about like the art style, like any inspirations that you might have had?
Yeah. I'm not sure much about like inspirations because like I basically learned to illustrate through Zephyr. Uh, I hadn't really done illustration before starting this project. Um, I always liked drawing and stuff, but I didn't really get very far. And so when I started the project about like 4 years ago, I met up with one of my best friends, and they basically taught me how to draw and illustrate.
That's awesome.
And so the whole like journey of making Zephyr was the journey of me learning to illustrate. So from extremely rough, like the kind of stuff that you might do if you don't know how to draw and you pick up like a digital tablet or something. It started with Zephyr and now it ended with the current sort of like illustrations that we have in the book.
Hell yeah. Um,
And
that's definitely very very relatable to me. Also, as like a self-taught, not a person who went to art school artist. I
Mhm.
I definitely like have had have had to learn through my work. I just recently realized that I like probably should have been doing palettes for Sapphic World, and so I'm going back in and making palettes. And we'll probably have to apply them to some of my existing work at some point. But
Mhm.
yeah, I really respect. Like, I think like it's the work that you've done like in learning how to do illustration through Zephyr is like really impressive and really stylistic. Um,
Oh, thanks.
yeah, and I really really like it. Um,
Mhm.
Sorry, I have Swedish fish and I couldn't keep away from them. I tucked them away because I was like, I need to not be eating while on stream. Um, but hmm, sorry.
Yeah, it's good.
Can you tell me a bit about Nibiru? I'd love to hear. I actually know very little about Nibiru.
Yeah, neighbors basically. I'm trying not to read the text in the screen. It's basically a game set like in a big space station, just home to like millions of people, and it has this like I really had fun with like the premise of the world in terms of like the way these millions of people that live in the space station who have been there for like entire history don't really know what's outside. So there's no sky nor moon,
Hmm.
planets for them. So they have all of these like the religious traditions and their ways of like um, so like conceptualizing the world are all tied to the machinery and the so like the environs of the station. Um, and within that space station, you as the players wake up as one of the vagabonds, which are people that lost their memories. They don't really remember anything about their past, and they basically start to journey through the cover those worlds. The game is like well, it's basically it's very rules light. It doesn't really have skills or anything of the sort. You just have a thing where you have a pool of memory points, which represent your potential to remember stuff. And whenever there's a roll, you can use them to get a success, and you get to write a memory tied to whatever it is that you're trying to do. And so you have this journal page, and you fill journal entries, and each journal entry gives you a bonus or a penalty because you can choose to instead fail roll and get memory points in return if you do like a negative memory, like a memory that speaks of why you're really not good at this stuff or whatever. So it has that kind of build as you go narratively and mechanically at the same time. Your character. So,
Neat.
yeah.
I really like. Well, okay. I'll say first, like I still really need to play Nibiru, and I'm excited to play Zephyr. Like I
Hmm?
I will be getting that. In fact, I'm pretty sure I supported it because I think it's really a really cool project. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I have a lot of respect for you as like a person who um I think that like there's a fear with a lot of like game designers to design to like come up with mechanics.
Oh yeah.
um and like that's not to say it's like it comes from a cynical place even. I think a lot of it is just like a it's inexperience. Sometimes it's cynical. I feel like there's some people where it's like, all right, we got to get another game out. A
Yeah.
PBTA, but you're but it's a buddy cop thing. Bam, that's a
Yeah.
game. But I feel like for the most part, I feel like for the most part, folks are just trying to learn
Hmm.
how to do stuff, and I think I don't know. I think it's really cool that you're doing really experimental stuff in that regard. Um, are there any like
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
I wouldn't really enjoy it otherwise.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I feel that. Um, like I have used PBTA in some of my stuff, but I generally like making things that are a little bit insane. I think that's where you gotta be. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah. I guess that's pretty much all I'd ask about your work. Are there any like games that are out now that you're like really excited about? Any games not out now, but like any games that are available that you would like to point folks
Mm.
towards that like are really inspiring you or uh or exciting you recently?
Sadly, games are kind of like the least of my inspirations. At least at tabletop role playing games. I think that it ties a bit with this thing that you're describing. It's like sort of like the design trends or the tendency by which people tend to build systems and stuff like that. I probably should say my favorite game is Dialect, uh, probably because it's the kind of game that very much lines up with this like theme centered design philosophy that it's essentially mine. Um, and it's also like very much, oh, you're setting up a very weird table with like threads and cards and threads that represent eras, cards showing like how language evolves, etc., across these eras and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my favorite game. Um, there's bits and bobs of other games that I might think they're not maybe like particularly inspirational, but just because of like I guess a genealogy of design that I've been affected by. Because for example, I used to play a lot of World of Darkness, so there's a bit of like, for example, the DNA of the pledge system of Changeling the Lost that got into Zephyr through the obligation system. But it's not really inspiration so much as just like uh, a sort of like, I don't know, um, designer DNA
Yeah.
being inherited into the bones of the game. So yeah.
I have been notified of
Mm.
something crucial that I missed, which is I have not have had Entrero the interview bird appear, so there we
Oh,
go.
cute.
The bird has arrived. Um but yeah, no, I think honestly, I think I've heard that a lot from TTRPG people is like the people who make the most interesting designs are not drawing from other TTRPGs often. I mean, that's not always true, but there is some truth to that for certain cases.
Mm.
Um, what I guess I should ask you what stuff that's not TTRPGs do you draw from? I'd love to hear about that.
Oh, well, by far, it's got to be nonfiction. Um, so Zephyr in particular took like a long time, like just research time. Had to read a lot of anthropology and politics sort of texts, particularly if you want kind kind of like the historiography of stateless people. So like zoom into some category of nonfiction. It's also one of those things that really doesn't stop for me, like reading nonfiction, even beyond the bounds of like designing any one particular game, because I'm part of like a politics study group that's located in Tokyo. So I basically have to read nonfiction constantly and prepare summaries of those books every month. So yeah, it's kind of like that. Most of it comes from like nonfiction, philosophy, anthropology, politics, etc.
Cool. Hive Indicator says, if you say Graeber, I'm definitely going to get this.
Yes, I'm pretty much a Graver. I don't want to call myself a scholar at this point, but I've pretty much read everything Graver has done, including an anthropological theory of value, the one book that people that read Graver never read. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I have not. I'm still sifting through Graeber. I did some reading in depth. I've listened to him talk a couple times. Through the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Very very mind opening stuff. Like I highly recommend, even if you just take a like, kind of thin. I recommend reading as much as you can, as much as you can stomach. I'm not necessarily much of a reader, so I've read like, well, okay, I'm not much of a book reader. I've read like, I enjoy reading articles that he's written. I enjoy listening to him speak, but like I'm not books for some reason. My brain glances off of them. I think it's some like academic trauma that I still need to get over. Um, However,
In audiobooks,
I should try audiobooks. That might help.
yes,
Um,
that probably will help.
yeah, but the point being, I recommend that you take whatever sort of dive you want to into Graeber, into David Graeber's work, because I think you are going to find a lot of interesting ideas that might, you know,
Mm-hmm.
might might help you understand the world around you better, and the reason why people believe the things they believe outside of a like kind of propagandized lens.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably, I don't know if you have a better recommendation, but I would probably recommend starting with Debt. uh I don't know if you have a better recommendation though.
It's I mean, going into debt is kind of like going into debt. Starting from debt. I think it's at this point, given how accessible Graeber has become with like his latest books and stuff, is a bit jumping in the deep end. But it's what I first started with, and it's totally viable if you feel confident. It's perfect to start with debt. Like for most of the time, people have said that it's a good idea to get into Graeber through bullshit jobs. It's a pretty accessible read, and it's very present, so like present time kind of text overall. But if you want to go for like accessibility and also like a big span of time, kind of like a huge, so like engrossing themes, Dawn of Everything is very good. And if you're in the TTRPG crowd, particularly, this is of course relevant for this chat. I think Utopia of Rules is actually pretty cool because you get to see Graeber talking shit about D&D. So yeah,
Nice. Yeah. So pretty much. Actually, hang on. These are not chronological. I'm looking at a list. Yeah. Hang on. Let me. I will. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put I'm gonna put links to the Wikipedia pages for these on
yeah.
in my Discord, just so that like, because I don't want to send people to like Amazon to buy them. You can pirate these,
Yeah.
like please do. Uh I don't think Graber would mind. uh
He wouldn't.
no. Um so bullshit jobs, don't have everything, debt.
Mm-hmm.
Debt was definitely very helpful. Like the reading that I've done in debt has been very helpful in understanding like how I should be writing about um like feudalism in Sapphic world. So highly recommend that. I need to get on my Graeber scholarship, but you know, I've been I need to get a job first before
Yeah.
I get too deep into my erudite reading. Um,
Get too deep into that.
yeah, most of his stuff is in the Anarchist Library. Yes, 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 yes. And also, yeah, a local library might also have them. So definitely check with your library. Um, yeah. That's our little our little Graeber
Cover
moment.
section. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there other nonfiction books that you'd really recommend for folks?
Oh yeah, for sure. So within these lines, at least if it's a recommendation tied to my work in Zephyr, I'd say Amitav Ghosh's The Nutmeg's Curse. Really big, particularly on the politics of vitalism, and it's just a hugely spanning book, and it's also very recent. Like it talks about COVID and stuff like that. It's really really good. So like the world spanning creation of like so like the omnicidal epistemologies of Europe.
Hmm.
Its ripples through the shit and how they coalesce into like uh, climate change and so like yeah, all of that stuff. Pretty cool. The Nutmeg's Curse. And it's
Yeah.
basically like this sort of like thing that you're starting to see in theory, which like I think you've seen in fiction before, but like in theory, it's kind of more of a thing now of like just writing from the point of view of not humans but other entities, and sort of like giving back some sort of like sense of personhood to them, agency. You've seen this with like Nutmeg's Curse with nutmegs, and you've seen this, for example, with like the mushroom at the end of the world. Uh, Stuff by, uh, for example, the next book from James C. Scott is supposed to be about rivers,
Hmm.
and so like there's sort of like a spring of vitalism from there on that sort of thing. So yeah, there's plenty of that. It's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. I have dropped those into my Discord so folks can peruse those as they wish. Um, or I dropped Wikipedia articles. Find them on the Anarchist Library or at your local library or etc. Don't buy them on Amazon. um, uh, yeah, I actually I think that it's really cool that you're like drawing from nonfiction. I think that's a really important thing. Something that like I've said a lot, probably on this show, at least once, about like fiction writing, especially like TTRPG writing, is that I think that there's a tendency to uh draw from other like there's a tendency to like draw from a history of people drawing from things that they've seen and things that they liked in their childhood. um like I think the obvious
Yeah,
example is obviously the like Tolkien was creating fantasy that was based on like existing mythologies and then also like his own experience. And then Gygax had no exceptional life experience, so he just took Tolkien and turned it into a game. And then everyone drew from that like nothing world that he created. Um
it's yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing. Now that you mention it, I think that like on the one hand, like for starters, any sort of like creative medium that is sort of like developing in this sort of like bubble, like antisocial, uh, like nerds in the 70s or 60s or something. Like it's gonna be profoundly self-referential. Like a lot of the environs that in which like hobby culture developed, where it's like yeah, like these clubs of like people who do model train kind of things, and then went into like Ivy League schools where they had their own so like hobby clubs and stuff like that. Aaron Trammell wrote a book about this called The Privilege of Play that released a little while ago. It was really interesting, and it talks a bit about like the influence of like Gygax and those people, and how it's actually not so much Tolkien, um, but it's tied more to sort of like a fantasy version of like frontier narratives that is
Right.
very profoundly linked to the sort of fantasies evoked by the early so like train model clubs and stuff like that. So if you think about it, like the sort of like you know build up of identity that you get with train modeling stuff in the US at this era, like 40s, 50s, 60s, is very tied to the idea of like the train as the thing that takes progress into the Wild West and all that shit. And a lot of it,
Right.
like this white folk that are building model trains in their houses are sort of channeling the Wild West colonizer being into their kind of thing, and it draws a lot from there, much more than we are conscious of, which kind of goes to explain how so many people say that like Tolkien and the Gygaxian fantasy is less inspired by the Gygaxian fantasy is less inspired by sort of like or less evocative of the European sort of like medieval fantasy and more of sort of like a fantasy version of the Wild West kind of shit. But yeah, it certainly like mixes different sort of like sources. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree that I think that like I think that there is a like it's complicated because like I think I can simultaneously believe that like the racial politics of Tolkien are not always the best, despite some of the like really good themes in those books. Um, and also that like Gygaxi and D&D stuff is like a bastardization of that. uh, I think you're absolutely right in that regard. Because yeah, it is like it is wild to think that like the thing that they're the like you know the mythical like characters and ideas or that they're drawing from are from like really kind of um very like pastoral like human natural oriented settings, and then somehow it becomes the Wild West, somehow it becomes the frontier
Yeah,
again. Yeah.
yeah, totally. I think from Tolkien, probably the closest thing is The Hobbit,
Hmm.
because we're talking about mercs. Essentially, it's all mercs.
Yeah,
Money. I think The Hobbit is probably
I hate mercs. I love people who live in the place that they're going around.
yeah.
I love when a party is traveling a place that they know. I think that's like such an important thing, and I think that's where I think that if fantasy has like fantasy RPGs have a future, that should be the direction they go in. Um,
Well, it's a fantasy of being native, not of being a settler. So
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So let me think if I have anything else for you in terms of interview stuff. Are there any games or projects in general that you're excited about that are coming up?
Mm, I had to think. I'm pretty sure there must be, but my memory's going to fail me. So like a so like a consequence of what of all that's happening in the world is
Yeah.
that I haven't been thinking about TRPGs that much lately.
No,
Um,
that's totally fair.
I mean, I'm always going to probably recommend check out Split Party, which is
Yes.
basically sort of like a game critique outlet. lit/party. They always got good stuff. Um, and it's very adjacent when it comes to like taking theory and doing deep dive. Very theory informed deep dives on games. What else? I'd have to think. It's a pending one. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, cool. Um, we made some good time here. So yeah, I think we'll move into news. I think we'll do like maybe two of those and take a short break, and then we'll do the last
Sure.
one and answer questions. So let me get my next bird in. This is Cordus, who is flying in from a peaceful, beautiful spring on a distant world, just flapping their wings, eating worms, maybe even just eating fruit, just vibing. Here's Cordus, the terrifying ghost skullbird. um, and yeah, we're gonna talk about the news. So our first story is yeah. These are very normal stories, but we'll get into these. So, first story is Dropout banning the Dropout Discord banning politics, banning any discussion of politics, which is really interesting and kind of ties into some stuff that we've pretty much discussed in the show for the last couple episodes, and I'm sorry if people are sick of me talking about this, but I think it is important to talk about. And I will find any excuse to do so. So, some context. There were a lot of like Zionist and anti-Zionist like arguments happening on the Dropout Discord. For those who don't know, Dropout is the company that produces. They were previously called Shimmer. They are the company that produces Dimension 20, which is Brendan Lee Mulligan and company's TTRPG actual play show. And yeah, I guess I don't know if I really want to read this entire thing, but it is wild. I think the biggest thing is like the pivot from here we go. The pivot from like we're trying to figure this out to we are instituting a no politics rule is so funny here. I'm just gonna read a little bit of it. So in my life outside my work, this is all I am thinking about, all I am talking about. But there are much better places to bring these discussions. I encourage everyone to call their representatives and voice their concerns directly to the people who hold the power to make a difference, and to participate in collective action. We are highly encouraging of the people who work here to speak out. We know some have already. We know others have plans to. Hopefully these will be more meaningful than a brand weighing in. I also ask that you offer some grace to our mods, who sign up to help maintain chats about a TTRPG show mostly, are now being asked to figure out precedents on the fly without the training or guidance to prep them for this. Going forward, formally instituting a no politics rule in the server. So, not doing this with the goal of silencing anyone. Which is really funny. And then they did a follow-up. There was an apology. The rule was lifted. There was some talk about Brendan Lee Mulligan and Sam Reich having commentary on it. And then Sam Reich did a whole thing saying, like, we will not be making an official statement about it, because in the past we've done so and it's been a mistake, but I am personally making a statement. Sam Reich is the CEO of Dropout. And a lot of kind of stuff about that. Reactions were mixed. Like, some people, doesn't address mods' behavior, mistreatment of people, not just bans. Some people are okay with it. There's more. Like, you can look at if you look up Dropout, you're probably still going to find people talking about this stuff, because it's like, actually probably not, because they just keep making stuff. Barclay, who's a cool friend who I will probably be seeing at PAX U in a couple weeks. Uh, uh, this is. I guess this was Barclay's initial reaction. True, your mod shouldn't be responsible for facilitating political discussions. Also true, you should be able to say the words genocide and ceasefire. Are you neutral and genocide drop out? Are you only against colonialism when it's fictional or hypothetical? What was the other really funny thing? They have like a capitalism is the problem mug, which is like wild considering this whole thing. But that's basically the gist of it. Um yeah, it's it's kind of it's exceptional, but it's also kind of business as normal, I think. I don't know. What do you think about this, Fede?
See, no, we had this like conversation about like uh, politics in games, etc. It's like it's just saying like no politics, or we don't allow politics or something like that. Should basically be tantamount to being like we only want like white rich people. Like it's yeah, it's just highly exclusionary. Aside from that, I think that for all the things tied to that that have been said like ad nauseum, it the fact that they did that and then they walked it back and they're trying to sort of like um, walk the tightrope on that stuff
Mhm.
um, without even doing so like a judgment or something like that. I think anyone should take from this sort of thing at this point that the more creative freedom you can kind of seize for yourself for like the process, etc., the less you'll have to deal with this sort of thing. It's kind of
Yeah.
like it's one of those things that like I kind of get tired of talking about with like fellow creators like the indie scene. The point of being indie is that you are severing most, if not all, of the kind of toxic ties to parts of the creative process that would hamper your capability to say what you want to say politically, ethically. Uh, that's the whole point. And that like any sort of like media that is actually just corporate, but it is so like draped itself in so like the veneer of like progressiveness or something will be constantly doing so like it's just part of how the whole thing's built. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think um so in the first episode of the Dovecote, I had my friend Piper Monera on, and we had a conversation about one particular Dimension 20 show, which is I forget what it's called. It's a like it's basically they're doing Redwall. They're doing Redwall, but they're stoats essentially. Um,
Mm.
and the I need to watch more of it, but like one of the themes of that show is very clearly that like they are like the stoat Burrow's End. That's right. The stoats took over a rabbit hole. Like that is where they live because that's like how stoats make their homes. And like my the vibe that I'm getting from it from what I've watched it so far is that it is going to like contend with that fact. Um and like having that show be on the network while also like you know uh two-waysing uh about like settler colonialism and genocide is like pretty fucking ballsy. um I don't know. It is what you're saying. It's that they can put on whatever they can put on whatever color dress they want, but like at the end of the day, like you know, under it all, they're still covered in blood. um,
Yeah, naturally. I mean, it's a corporate medium, so that they're always going to be walking on eggshells and like that on that end. I think it also is one of those things that like um, I like to take like these chances to like just regard people that are kind of like in my situation where we're trying to do stuff mostly as like a creative outlet just to express ourselves and stuff like that. The more you sort of like sever yourself from those expectations, and it doesn't even need to be like actual people or organizations. It doesn't have to be like, oh, my distributor has a very particular so like conservative view, so I shouldn't be publishing this because I don't want to lose my distributor. Like it is just beyond, like, even if you don't have like a contract with a distributor or something like that, and it's just an audience or an idea that you should tap onto X or Y audience expectation. It's like, no, fuck that. Like, write whatever you want to write, design whatever you want to design. Um, because if you do that, and if you do that consistently, the people that you vibe with, that kind of like want to see what you're doing, will flock to you. Like, people come to you. It's like the opposite of the marketing approach. There's like the market poison brain kind of thing, where it's like, oh, you gotta find a market, you gotta go and do something that taps onto this, or like you have some freedom, but you should really use this pre-made system because you're gonna tap into this market or have an audience. Or it's like, no, just do whatever you want and do it consistently, and you'll find that you're actually better as an artist, probably in many regards. If you operate with as much freedom as you can, and people just go to you because you'll end up doing cool stuff. Like, yeah, I know.
Get a little silly with it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I something that I have been realizing recently. When I first started writing Sapphic World, I was like, I should probably tone this down. I should probably make this like less horny, because like people are gonna like less horny, less dark, less toxic, um, because like people are gonna be repulsed by it, or like are gonna like find it too strange, or it's not gonna it's not gonna grab the thirsty sword lesbians audience. Uh, and then I realized like there is actually an audience of queer people who are like repulsed by the vibe of thirsty sword lesbians and want something a little nastier. Uh, and so I yeah, just do what you want. Yeah, don't change your values based on the market. Exactly, Hive Indicator. Just
I mean,
have fun.
if you came up with that, like, there's obviously like 1,000 more people out there that like the same thing,
Mhm.
uh, and you can only find them putting that out as it is, or as you wish it to be. Let's say.
You gotta put out an energy. You gotta put out a nasty energy, and the nasty people will flock to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
um, yeah. Trying to think if I have anything else to say about this. I mean, Sam Reich and Brennan's statements are pretty good broadly, but like also, Brennan's Sam Reich is at least like kind of compromised by the fact that he's the CEO of the company. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I just hope that I don't know what I hope. I I think that you probably have your head screwed on a lot better than I do about this issue, which is that people really should just go out there and make their own stuff. And I think if you are a person who enjoyed anything that Dropout created, and you are like, I don't know if I want to watch these people anymore, you should like support smaller APs, and try and make stuff yourself, and enjoy the presence of other people and be in community. Because these people are not your friends fundamentally. Like, you know, I don't mean that in a like they're bad people way. I mean that in a they are they're either people working a job or people who are in a managerial role who are interested in getting your money. um,
Mm-hmm.
and that is what it is. Um, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. Um, let's talk about Lynn Codega and the IO9 layoffs, and then we'll take a break.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess we won't broadly talk about the IO9 layoffs, but we will talk about Lynn because I feel like Lynn's work has been like fairly notable. Um, whether
Yeah.
I know there are people both on the like OSR side and like some folks in the indie space who have their like we all have our thoughts about people who write game stuff. everyone
Mhm.
everyone has opinions. Nonetheless, I think that like the OSR stuff was really notable. Um, I think the gaming shelf each week or each month, I don't remember, was like really helpful for folks to be able to like put their stuff in front of faces. I know my friend Wendy Ripston was able to get a game on there on the last one, which was awesome. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, IO9 laid off 23 people on November 9th, which I guess was a while back. That's fine. I haven't done one of these in a while. Um, and I think Lynn had some writing about it, I believe. Was that here? Was this a clickbaiter? Uh,
Yeah,
it's a
that
leak shouldn't
article.
like it. Which an interesting article. I remember reading it, but I don't I don't remember that much of it because I've been kind of scatterbrained. Um, but yeah, it was mostly just about like her time, or sorry, their time at yeah, at IO9, Gizmodo.
It's basically like a goodbye letter, thanking people, kind of regretting what they just wouldn't be able to publish or talk.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I mean, this this sucks. I think broadly, like any person who's in the like TTRPGs, well, sorry, any person who's in like the broader games criticism space who like does actual work and like asks questions and looks into these things is like a target now for
Yeah.
like layoffs, and I think it really fucking sucks. And I think that like uh as a I think like both these people deserve better, and I think like as a consumer base, I think people who are interested in TTRPGs or video games or both deserve better than like here's the guide to find the secret gauntlets that give you +1 to strength in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
And not, here are some things that I think about the gender representation in Baldur's Gate 3.
hmm
I don't know. What do you think?
Um, I mean, this is actually very related to the previous news. We're talking about people operating under the wing of sort of like a particular like corporate outlet like ION9. So, um, and how those places are like increasingly dehumanized. Uh, so within the constraints of like platform economies and stuff like that, yeah, if you want to write about games, it's just better to be as um yeah be as outside of like these sort of like structures as possible. I think that like regardless of what anyone can contend of, like I don't know, Lynn's writing or this or that critics writing or whatever. I think that like any sort of thing where like nobody wants for there to be less people writing about games. I think it sucks. More people should be writing about games, and
Yeah.
Lynn should be able to say what they think and essentially uh, do it as freely as they can. Um, yeah, just that.
No, I definitely agree. Um, and I also think like it sucks to see. I think like since hell, like it's so interesting because like since like Gamergate, since like 2013, there's this idea that I think even like people like me who were anti Gamergate intrinsically believe that was like these people are able to decide what goes up on their website, right? Like
Yeah.
these people can make decisions about what sort of work appears on the front page, and then you have AI, and it's just like Actually, no. Actually, Lynn has to go on Twitter and be like, "Hey, there are articles on this site. Don't read these ones. Don't give them clicks because they're made by a computer."
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's fucked up. I think it's really fucked up how like broadly like online news media is being just like ripped apart for the sake of generative AI that is often inaccurate or uh either inaccurate, inhuman, or both, basically.
Mhm.
And you know, not to mention unethical, inhumane, like environmentally like unconscionable. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh all right. Well, I think we're gonna take a brief break. Um I think let me think. I mean, I'm trying to think of like how much time we have left versus like I don't know, you want to take 5 or take 10? Up to you.
I'm okay with 5.
Okay, let's take 5 and we'll be right back in a bit.
It's
Actually, I'm gonna go here. There we go. Hello, we are back. I want to read a comment by Audiovore. It feels like the public face of the internet is increasingly becoming. Sorry, wait. Let me breathe first. I had to run up the stairs. Okay. It feels like the public face of the internet is increasingly has increasingly become just algorithmically generated pages made by machine learning, filled with algorithmically generated comments made by machine learning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't subscribe to like dead internet theory in its entirety because I've like talked to people in ways that make me think that there are people on the internet to some degree.
Yeah.
And oh my god. Sorry. But nonetheless, I think that's true. We have one last story, which is I suppose a bit brighter than the other ones, unless I don't know. I actually have not read many of these finalist lists, so maybe there will be people I don't like. We're gonna be reading the award winners for both the awards and the Dicebreaker Tabletop Awards. And talking about them to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
The internet is not dead, but it can feel like it's dying. Yeah, that is definitely true. So I guess we'll start with the awards.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I haven't read these, so this is very interesting to me. Beam Saber.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Which I feel like Beam Saber's been out. I bought Beam Saber 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's a thing that you're going to start seeing with awards if you look at them just with a cursory look across more than like a year or two. Just games that were in air quotes finished 3 years ago suddenly pop up this year.
Huh.
And it turns out that they're games that are in some sort of alpha, beta, or gamma, or whatever state.
Right. Okay.
And, they're not finished yet. It's super messy.
Yeah.
Pretty much anyone just submits stuff whenever and gets picked up whenever.
Yeah. I mean, these games take so long to make, and like, I mean, you know, I get it. It is certainly a thing. Fedora Noir, which I've seen, I think Riley Rethel said something about it somewhere. Maybe not publicly. I think that might have been on Riley's private Twitter. I think Riley was trying to get people together for a game of it at some point recently. Game about a detective in their hat. Oh, that's fun. Creating a film noir style story. That seems fun. Flabbergasted, a comedic role-playing game. If I look at all these, I'm not gonna get anywhere. I'm just gonna skim see if I recognize any of them. I feel like I've seen the Wild Sea product. Wait, what? Hey, the awards.
Something wrong.
You need to fix your page. Oh no.
I mean, Product 4 is certainly winning a lot of stuff. It's got to be good.
Product 4 has won so many awards. Hang on.
It's certainly intriguing with that cover.
Is there a The Awards? Is there a person who runs this? Because I could drop them a
I can't recall.
Yeah.
Isn't it the Crit Awards? No, it's the awards.
This is the awards. I know that wasn't plus 1 EXP involved?
I feel like
maybe. Oh yeah, I think they were. Here we go. Oh, I can't DM because I'm not verified. Whatever. I'll send some sort of email or something. I just want to let them know that this is the case. So we can't look at all this, but I don't know. I mean, Beam Saber's a great game. I think it probably deserves some recognition. So good for Beam Saber, I guess. Uh, Austin Ramsey. I've talked to Austin Ramsey once, probably like 4 years ago. Cool person. That's all I have to say about these ones. These, hopefully these are more proper. Here we go. 2023 finalists. I don't care about board games. I mean, I probably should, but oh yeah, and these are gonna be a bit more like, I guess
Bigger.
Yeah, Animon Story, Barkeep on the Borderlands, which I think I've heard of. Blade Runner, the role-playing game, which is wild.
The mandatory free league inclusion.
Yeah, right.
You're
The
gonna
overlords
jail.
need their.
You're gonna jail if free league doesn't have an
Mhm.
in every single. Yeah.
I've heard of Fabula Ultima. I don't know anything about it. Fox Curious Fling Bookshop, interesting. This Discord is ghosting it years ago, but sure. I mean, listen.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a good game.
Best ongoing card game is the 5 card games we know.
Disney,
And we always know.
Flesh and Blood, Magic, Pokemon. Yeah. Barkeep. What is Barkeep on the Borderlands? Is that a 5e? It's a system neutral adventure. Huh. Okay. The art looks cute. I don't know. I don't know much about that one. My friend.
Oh, Penny. Yeah.
I don't know the person who made this, but I know my friend Wendy has been playing this, and she said it's great. So, you know.
Penny Lines. I used to work with them because they
Cool.
used to work at Modifius with me.
Hell yeah. We saw Flabbergasted earlier. What is Sephiroth? Because I like that name, considering certain things about me. Huh. Pen and paper RPG with tarot. It's not loading. So, I guess. Huh, okay. Well, Bridget Winter. Do I know Bridget Winter? David Thompson, Trevor Benjamin. I know Will Jobst. Will Jobst is cool. Dear Marley. Yeah, I don't know that person. David Thompson, Trevor Benjamin. What did they make? It's hard to suss these sorts of things out. I kind of wish they would have put, like, you know, maker of XYZ.
Make it a link and put
Yeah.
it to links somewhere.
Rising Star Designer. I don't know these people, but I'm sure they're great. Publisher of the Year, 9th level, good luck. See, there's so many TTRPGs that I don't actually. It's actually very hard to like keep track of these things. Hot Banana.
I just don't.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping there'd be more games that I would recognize here, but apparently I'm a bit of a. I should go through these and then just kind of just kind of determine which of these are
Yeah, everyone wants up.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's it. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on any of these that I like skipped over?
Not really, because I don't really know much about what's being done in terms of games. Not particularly aware. Yeah.
Fair enough.
And I don't tend to partake in awards. That there's a couple of awards. I send stuff too.
Yeah.
Yannies and shit like that. But yeah.
Cool. Close this one. Okay, well I guess we got mail, and I would like to answer it. So let me pull up in my mailbox here. We have some stuff from earlier in the month and some stuff that's newer. So let's let me bring in the last bird. Apocrypha, the male bird. The bird is not male. The bird is non-binary, but it does bring mail. There we go.
Yay.
Final bird. And let's read our first email from Duck, from Ulysses Duckler. Dear Demonic, if you could get anyone to do art, writing, design, music for your Dream Teacher RPG for free, but the catch is they have to live with you while they are working on the game, who you got? Signed, Duck. And this question is also extended to you, my guest.
That's a good question.
I would get Alexis Flower, the creator of I Roved Out in Search of Truth and Love, and I would have them work on Sapphic World. Easily.
I would probably work with Kristen Hayter from Lingua Ignota. So she does the music.
Hell yeah. That was a pretty easy one for both of us, I'd say.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I think, are these labeled as Duck? We have two other ones from Duck. I'm just going to say they're from Duck.
Mm-hmm.
Duck will forgive me. Name a teacher RPG that's first-person view and a teacher RPG that's third-person view, and a teacher RPG that's second-person view. Parentheses, Homestuck reference, studio audience laugh track. I don't know what you mean by this. I'm trying to indicate what you might mean by this, and I'm like struggling a little bit.
Second person view, the Bluebird's Bride. There's several people controlling a character. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. First person view, I guess most of them. And third person view,
I guess wasn't there like an old Grant Howitt that was like a bunch of like one person plays as like the navigator of the like the wasteland, and then everyone else plays as like the troubles that befall them. I think it was like a Google Plus game, and I don't remember its name.
I'm not sure. I mean, if basically we're talking about degrees of separation between a 1-1 representation of player and character, then you know the less agency as a player you have over a character, and the more you have over, for example, external elements of the world, the more you can say it gets close to a third person. So yeah. I'm not sure if we have that much that's tied to that.
Yeah, someone should make a third person teacher RPG.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is tricky because the subject is Taylor Swift really straight? Yes, I can answer that probably, and if she's not, it's none of my business.
I couldn't care less.
And the second, the text of this email is, can you try to reenact, to the best of your ability, Neolithic cave women developing the first TTRPG? Well, they have to make a table first, right? Or I guess you just use a flat rock.
Yeah.
I feel like this could really easily enter like Uka territory that I don't really want to go into.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, you'd have your rock, you'd have your flat rock, and then 2 sticks, and you would tell, like, one person would tell the other person a story about them, and then you would like clash the sticks together, and like whoever's stick broke, the other person got to like choose the outcome. I think that's how it worked. slash pulling shit out of my ass. I don't know. That's a really weird question.
It really is such an accessible medium, and storytelling being as old as time. Like you can pretty much imagine anything.
Yeah. Thank you for those questions, Tuck. Does anyone in chat have questions? I will open up questions for a little bit. I do have to wrap up this episode a little bit shorter than the last ones, but we're good on time. So, yeah. Does anyone have any last TTRPG related questions before before we wrap up? Or general questions, or I don't know, non-fiction questions, or whatever. I'm going to be GMing a game of Sapphic World soon, and I'm trying to think of an appropriate way to describe what I'm about to describe without giving away who the person who said this is. A playtester for a Sapphic World playtest, which may or may not be on the main Sapphic World server, has asked me at some point in the future, or has notified me that at some point in the future, they will not be available for a session due to the fact that they have a booty call. So that is really good.
It's perfectly on theme.
It is. It's perfectly on theme. Like
I mean, if there's experience in the game, you should give them some.
I'm telling them that it is totally fine and fucking get it. Yeah, I don't see any questions in chat, so I think we'll wrap up. Is there anything that you want to direct people towards, Fede?
Not sure. I would probably direct everyone to go to a local bakery and have a treat. Have some.
Have a treat. Have a snack. I always get a
have
treat.
A snack. I'll direct people to their nearest fridge if they can't leave the house, and have a treat.
Please have a treat. Have a snack, and
yeah,
have a great night. We're gonna raid someone. Or who actually are we raiding? Is Melody live yet? No. Okay. I would have wanted to raid into Melody's Lunacid stream, but I think I will instead raid into your Dad the Squid's Tunic stream. Cause I want to give them some love. So go say hi to the Squid. And everyone take care. I hope you had a good one. And next week I'll be back with who am I interviewing next week? Hang on. Do I remember who this is? Yes, an artist, Z Gosk. So that'll be cool. Yeah. So yeah. Everyone, take care and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Remember, if you don't like what you see, you can change it. It's up to you, really. Goodbye, good luck, and have fun!